I got off of antidepressant meds because I started listening to Tony Robbins.
Really? So he's good.
I think so. There's limitations, you know. Have you listened to him at all?
I don't know if I watched his documentary. I watched something about, I know of him, and I know he makes a lot of money, and I know that he's big. But that's about it. I don't know. I don't know if there's scandal behind him. I don't.
Of course. I mean, he's been around since.
You can't be that successful without scandal, right?
Nothing major. Nothing major. Like, he hasn't done anything like horrible or anything. I mean, he's had like, you know, he had like a divorce, and then there was this thing. BuzzFeed tried to bury him. And I think it's just because he's like an alpha male. I know that sounds really dumb, but because he kind of doesn't adopt to like the wokeness of the culture, to where I think they just had it out for him. He
was good content for them.
He was good content for them. Yeah. But dude, the guy's been around since like the early '80s, and he had like a bowl cut and would do these infomercials. Yeah. So he was kind of the first motivational speaker rock star.
I see.
Because he was like working with Aerosmith. He worked with like Bill Clinton, the presidents. All the presidents would call him in when like stuff hit the fan. Like, he worked with like, I think AC/DC. Like,
does he have like gigantism or something like that?
I think so. He had something in his brain that kept making him grow.
Yes.
And so he's huge.
Did he get that fixed?
I think so, because he stopped growing.
That's like what Andre the Giant had or something.
It's just a weird thing.
I just wonder how much of that is just because he's so big. Like, when you're just big like that, you just see the world differently.
Like, he's looking down on everything.
Yeah, he can't help it.
But have you seen people that are just super tall that are just so insecure?
Maybe. But no, not really.
I have. I've seen really tall people that kind of like, they sort of like cower, like they're the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like, they have this thing in their head to where like they think the whole town is looking at them like a monster and they're going to eat us. Like, they're going to eat them.
They are.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
We are.
Totally.
So you actually did was there a Tony Robbins course that you did, or?
So, you know how you can like, remember when you could like download stuff off of like, it was like BitTorrent and stuff like that? Yeah. So in like 2010, I downloaded this thing called Personal Power 2. I totally like pirated it offline, and I wasn't expecting anything. And there was this like, it was like a 20-day program, and dude, I went through it. Got off all of my like depression meds and everything. And after I got off of it, and I'd done like self-help and therapy and stuff like that, but went through like the whole program. And then I remember I got like a comedy manager within 6 months of moving to LA. Okay. So I was like,
it sounds like you're selling me on this thing.
Well, dude, it was really awesome. Like, at first, but then I noticed, it goes back to the magical thinking. Yeah. I had to do it all the time.
You got addicted
all the time, and I had to do it for hours a day, and I would even do it on Saturday and Sunday. I would do Tony Robbins exercises for like 4 hours a day because I saved up a bunch of money when I moved out here.
So you felt like you had to do it to keep this up. It wasn't necessarily like you were addicted to it. You just it was like a job.
Yeah, and I would bomb if I didn't do it. It was like weird because I'd feel like shaky and stuff. So it's like this thing that kind of pumps you up, but it doesn't get to the root of who you are, obviously.
But,
you know what I mean?
Obviously
it's
something
not the
about
answer.
It works.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So it's not the answer. Like, did you ever get into motivational speakers or anything like that?
I mean, I've seen it, and I can see. To me, it's kind of like going to church. To me, it's like kind of like it's just somebody sprouting positivity, and it can kind of get you. It can give you something, but
it can make you worse though too.
Yeah, I haven't had either experience. If anything, I guess I've had a positive experience when I've seen, but it's not a thing I seek out or follow.
You kind of have a general calmness about you, and I almost wonder if part of that is that you don't listen to motivational tapes.
Yeah. So it's just I'm like a brick wall, basically.
Yeah, well, because the thing is like you get something up that's like, it gets the chemicals going in your brain, somebody telling you that you can do something over and over and over again. And then it's like, you kind of have to listen to that all the time. And then like a lot of these guys, they're talking about never being negative. Not really Tony Robbins, but like a lot of them will be like, you can't be negative. And you get addicted to being positive all the time, to where if you don't
any slight bit of negativity might actually hurt you more than.
Dude, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like a paradox a bit. It's like, I'm so positive that now you can bring me down so easily. Whereas before, when I wasn't this positive, it's like I can kind of handle anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Like my ex-girlfriend, when we would get in fights, I would give her Tony Robbins books.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like,
hated that. She must hate
I'd
that
be
guy.
like, you need to fix this.
Yeah.
And she didn't go to therapy. I'm like, he can fix you. I didn't say that, but that's what I obviously I thought, you know? And when someone was like addicted to drugs, I would just give them like Tony Robbins books because I would be like, clearly there's a reason.
It's like how some people are like that with veganism or yoga. Be like, just go vegan, just drink water, just do yoga, it'll fix everything.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm sure sometimes that's right for some people. They go,
but
I just do yoga every day, and that's it. I do yoga, but I don't think it's going to fix everything. Actually, yoga gave me a pinched nerve.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have had the pinched nerve if I didn't do yoga.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I have it for the rest of my life.
Jeez, that sucks.
I took a bit of a steroid, it loosened it up, but it's there. Unless I'm not gonna get spinal surgery for it. It's not worth it.
Right. It's like what happened? A car accident? You're like, no,
too much wellness.
Hatha yoga.
Yeah, basically.
People want the answer so bad in these self-help and diet trends and workout trends and everything like that. And that's what happens with Tony Robbins. So there are people, I don't know this is for sure, but my friend, he used to go to a lot of seminars and he used to work in self-help. You know him, but he doesn't like he doesn't like people to know. So he was basically just saying that like Tony Robbins, he has like these people who follow him around.
Like groupies.
But like to every single seminar. And then it's like your personality becomes somebody who's trying to heal. You know what I mean? And that's like the negative of it. I think that's like the con of it. But those people, I feel like, are just like, that's not Tony Robbins' fault. Those people are just like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're the people who are gonna become carnivore or vegan, like raw vegan.
Yeah.
You know, like the people who go to the extreme on something because they think they're just gonna morph into a ball. But
maybe they kind of need to do that so that to make sure they don't like commit crimes and do heroin.
Like shoot up the telemarketing office.
You know what? I'll just put all my,
How do you get the money, though, to just, like, follow around?
I don't know, man. Maybe
his seminars are like
settlement? I have no clue.
$4,000, though, for every seminar.
Maybe because the Tony Robbins thing is working for them so well in their life. Like how your OCD was just, like, watching the pirated thing and doing all the whatever he teaches you, which we should get into. And their thing is like, well, I'm a businessman. This thing is helping me so much. I'm actually going to keep. They're stuck at a higher level in the pyramid.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, it just seems like they're using all their time to be able to follow around a guru, all around the country, which is interesting.
So, what were some of the things that you would do like every day? If you had to just guide us through that routine.
What was interesting was he taught this thing. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. Have you heard of that?
I think so, yeah.
So Tony Robbins studied with these two guys named John Grinder and Richard Bandler. Yeah. I'm still a Tony Robbins fan. I still like the guy, by the way. But what's interesting is John Grinder, I don't know much about him at all, but Richard Bandler is a very interesting character. He was accused of murder. They found like a gun in his apartment.
I thought you were gonna say he was accused of sexual assault. He said murder. I was like, that's not so bad.
Murder. Yeah. At least he didn't assault. At least he killed her.
Yeah.
But no, he was accused of murder, and the case just mysteriously dropped. So neurolinguistic programming, it's kind of like a broad term, but what it is it's influencing yourself and it's influencing other people. So what they teach in that, it's really interesting. But the thing I disagree with, they talk about how people are kind of like computers. So there's certain things that everybody does. For instance, your eye movement. So if your eye is going left, I don't know these cues or whatever. It means that you're visualizing, or maybe if it's up, you're a visual thinker. If it goes to the right, you're doing this. And you test somebody's eye movements, and you can tell if they're lying by their eye movements. And then there's even things like mirroring, which they teach in sales. So like, if I wanted to get rapport with you, like I would just do this, and you wouldn't even notice because you'd be like, I like him.
I wonder what happens when these people meet each other.
I know, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Like putting two telemarketers on the
and they're just both doing that. Yeah. It's like a duel down. But there's all these different techniques. But the thing that I used it all for it wasn't like mind control or anything. It was, how do I become the best comedian that I can possibly become? So at the time, quit drinking, all these things. This sounds so stupid and so silly, but it worked so well. There's this thing called the eraser technique.
Okay.
And so what you do is before I would go on stage, I'd be thinking of the worst thing possible. So I'm thinking of myself bombing, let's say. And what you do is you picture in your mind's eye, you picture a movie screen. And on that movie screen, you're seeing it the worst that it could possibly go.
Boy, okay.
And so you're a little detached as you're visualizing because you're watching it on a movie screen. So you see it going really, really bad. Then you imagine yourself stepping into the movie screen and stepping into yourself. And then you see everything happening in reverse. So like your body is in reverse. The sounds coming out of your mouth are in reverse. Everything in the audience is in reverse. And then you do this like back and forth, like really quickly, like so forwards, backwards. You picture the whole thing. Does that make sense?
Why forwards, back? What does that mean?
Because so you're picturing yourself giving the set, your comedy set.
Yeah.
And then you're picturing yourself after the set's over and you're going in reverse. So like all the jokes that you're doing, and you're seeing it from the first person view.
So you're seeing it. Hold on, you're seeing it first person, watching it or in the movie?
In the movie.
So now you're experiencing it.
Yeah, so now you're experiencing it. It sounds really dumb, and I thought it was too, and then I did it, and then you're seeing yourself going forward, like, and like picking people up and doing different things, and people like turning into confetti. And
you're just any possible...
You're scrambling the thing, and the way he likens it is, he goes, if you take a record player off the machine and scrape it with a knife enough times, the grooves will be destroyed and you can't get back to that original pattern. So the idea is that you have scrambled the pattern so much that when you try to think of the thing again, you can't. And it works.
Wow.
It works really well. Now, I don't do it anymore, but almost most of the time when I do it, I have an amazing set. I don't do it before mics because it's like very
How long does that
focused.
take you? And do you do it
6 or 7 minutes?
Do you sit down and do it with your eyes closed? Like formally, or you just run it through your mind?
So when I used to do it, I would do it before I went on set, before I went on stage, but I was so OCD about it. Let's say I was going up like 5th. I'd be doing it the entire time, back and forth, visualizing with my eyes open. But people would see me and I'd kind of be like, my head would be darting forward.
You had
because
Tourette's,
yeah, they're just like, there's something wrong with them. And then you go on stage and you smash and you're like, well, something.
I was like, I guess I got to be handicapped too to do this.
To do this, yeah. And so that was one of them. Another one was a thing called anchoring. So a lot of athletes do this. So you think of a time when you were at your best. Let's say you want to anchor in happiness. The time you're happy, you feel it, and at the peak moment, you do something unique, like you pinch the skin in a specific place. So now when you just pinch the skin,
you get happy.
It's like Pavlov's dog.
That might actually work, actually. I can picture that working.
Yeah, so some of the stuff sounds so simple that it's easy to just write it off and be like, oh, whatever. But it really worked. But for me,
did it ever not work?
Sure.
There was times where it didn't work.
There's times it didn't work, sure.
Yeah.
But it would always scramble the nerves. And so it really, really worked. That was the thing. That one technique was the thing that I took away from Tony Robbins more. And he talks a lot too about
the scramble or the anchoring?
The scrambling.
Scrambling.
But he talks a lot too about values, like how you can want one thing and want another thing, and your values are clashing. So it's a lot about integrating your values to where you're not self-sabotaging. Okay. So you might crave adventure, but you might also want security a lot. So those two things are going to smash against each other.
So what do you do?
So that's where it gets really deep. In some of his stuff, he explains it in some of his books, and I haven't really gone through that. But he has a whole seminar about like changing your values and how to actually do that. So you're fully all like facing the same direction on everything. You don't have that unconscious thing that's like throwing a stick in front of you while you're like riding your bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it worked, but you know, it was like anything else. And I eventually stopped doing it because I'm like,
what made you stop? Like, what was like, okay, you know what? I don't have time to do this anymore.
I felt like I was making it a god in my life.
Of course.
Because I believe in God.
That's exactly what
you know what I mean?
like,
I believe in God, and I'm like, I'm not even letting God be God. I'm making Tony Robbins
is God. Yeah.
is God.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I just felt like I needed to like give it up because I'm like, why am I gonna keep just doing this shit all the time?
Yeah.
And it was making me miserable because I'm like, you can't enjoy life. You're always gotta like get yourself into this state. And there just came a point now I can appreciate what he does, but I'm not so obsessive about it.
So you can do a little. Have you kept any of it? Do you have a healthy balance, or did you have to kind of throw it all away?
I don't really do it hardly at all anymore. The last time I did it, Remember when we filmed Chris Gardner's special? We have a friend who we filmed a special.
Yes.
I did it that night.
Okay, because we were going to have a good tape. It was big.
Yeah, I wanted to have a tape. I never got the tape, but I
yeah, no, me neither. But I was like, I should ask him. I was like, I kind of don't even need it, but like I would like to have it.
Of course.
So,
Yeah. So that was kind of the last time that I think that I used it. But it's really, dude, it's like anything else. It's like the more you can just visualize, even if it's unconscious, like things going well for you before you do them.
Yeah.
Like it's like golfing. Like if you're picturing yourself having a bad swing, you're going to have a bad swing.
What's interesting about that, I know that's a huge law of attraction thing, see it, feel it, blah, blah, blah. But I was raised literally the opposite with like, don't do it, you'll jinx it. Where does jinxing come in? Or was that...
Superstitious.
Yeah. Like, no, don't, things are going well. Don't tell anybody because you'll jinx it.
Yeah.
Don't say you'll do well in the thing, or you won't.
It's weird too because there are those people who they're like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and you just watch them do it. And there's the other people who do it and they just keep getting humbled all the time until they stop saying that. You know what I mean?
Right. So I guess it depends what attitude you do. So like which one is right, or are neither of them right?
I mean, I'm not even looking at it as a law of attraction thing. I'm looking at it as like a physiological thing. Like if you're visualizing, like they've hooked people up in the Olympics to like when they have things on like electrodes on their head. I don't know how it works, but when they visualize something, like Olympians visualize themselves doing the thing, the muscles are firing off.
Wow. So it's like you're doing it, basically. Your brain thinks you're doing it.
So it's kind of like the 10,000 hour thing. If you can visualize yourself doing something really well, you're tricking your brain.
What if you did like 10,000 hours of visualizing? Like I'm just the best at visualizing me doing the thing.
Yeah. Well, you
probably will reach the 10,000 hours of visualizing before the 10,000 hours of
doing the thing.
Yeah.
Well, dude,
maybe that's the secret. Is like I just got so good at visualizing it that now I got it.
Now I don't even want to do it.
I don't even need to do the thing.
Well, you know what's crazy? There was this story of this guy who was like a prisoner of war. I think he was like in a cell, locked in there for, I think it was either 7 or 10 years. And every day he would visualize himself playing. How many rounds of golf do you play? Is it 9 holes usually?
I thought it was like, isn't it 18?
12. Whatever it is, he would visualize himself playing a full game of golf. And whenever he actually got out of prison, I think
he hit a perfect
I'm butchering
game
it, but he had a really great game. He had like knocked a stroke off of his score or something like that. So it was like he'd been playing.
He got better, yeah.
He got better at golf by visualizing. And so, I mean, obviously, I don't want to fully advocate that because it like encourages like laziness.
Right.
Like a lot of
But
comics.
it's not lazy. That's not like I've tried. I've tried. Energy. The brain is a wild animal. Because I've had experiences where like I'm trying to do like a guided meditation. It's like, okay, now visualize yourself in a safe, relaxing place, and I'm thinking about porn. I'm thinking about like music lyrics. I'm like, okay, like enough. Or I'm walking the dog, thinking about something negative that somebody did to me, and I have like a revenge fantasy. It's like,
do you argue with yourself ever when you're having those? Like you're thinking of how you're going to tell someone off, and then
sometimes not as much anymore, but it is hard to control your brain because I've seen people talk about it, like a successful people like Will Smith or Conor McGregor. They're like, I visualize everything. I see how my foot feels when I step on the canvas. I go, that's hard. It is hard.
It is hard
because I've tried doing that, and I was like, This is a whole other thing to really train your brain to put yourself there. And I think that's why people like psychedelics so much, is because it kind of gives you a bit of a shortcut to that. You kind of just for those few hours, you have a bit of lucidity control on your brain. But
that's interesting.
So I think the irony is doing things like I always like for stand-up, right? I always thought to do it, to be successful, you got to go out there when you're starting, hit a bunch of open mics as possible, do 5 or 9 in a day, and then try to get as many shows as possible. Just be on there doing it as much as possible. And then over the years, I saw people doing that. It led them nowhere.
It led them nowhere. And you know what it is? A lot of times I think the key thing is the visualizing, because you do all those different spots and you visualize yourself doing better. Now, when I say like visualize, I'm not even talking about like consciously. Visualizing. Like, I just mean when your imagination's going nuts. Like, I've noticed when I do the best is when I don't care. But also when I don't care, I'm expecting like, they're gonna like me.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna like.
You're assuming it's gonna go well.
I'm assuming that you're gonna like me.
And you're truly assuming because you're not. That is kind of where the not caring is coming.
Yeah,
from.
and there's like a visual that's happening in my brain of them laughing, and I'm not. It's not even conscious. It's just kind of subconscious. Yeah. But it's like the quicker you get to that before almost all of your sets, when you're just kind of like, they'll like me.
Yeah. The problem with this, with stand-up, with acting, with auditioning, with everything, is that I've been doing it so much, so head-on, so full force, that I've had success and failure in literally every circumstance. I've had it where like, I'm freaking out, it's going to go badly, and I kill. I'm freaking out, it's going to go badly, and it goes bad. I don't care, and I kill. I don't care, and it goes bad. I went to an audition this way, and I've gotten it this way, not thought about it like this. So it's like, it's really hard for me to just deduce, like, oh, you know what? This is what works, Yeah,
I mean, I've definitely had great sets, too, when I'm, like, fortune telling about, like, oh, it's going to be so bad, it's going to be so terrible. But I will say more often than not is whenever I have that attitude, and I'm not even talking about when I just, like, visualize, like, it's going to go so good, I'm just visualizing my feet on the floor. I just mean I'm like, I have that thing like going in an audition, like you guys are going to love me. Like when you have a little bit of that.
Yeah, see, it's hard for certainty. Me. Now I'm getting to a place where I can assume a little bit more, and I can be like, you know what, I got, this is easy. This is pancakes. I've been doing it forever. But it was my programming growing up, don't jinx it. And it's weird because that doesn't make any sense either, because they're like, just assume everything's going to go bad. That's basically what the don't jinxing is. And you attract a lot of kind of bad shit that way because you're just kind of stressed.
Yeah, when you're just like always.
If you're assuming everything's going to go bad, you're not feeling good.
Yeah.
I
mean, the main thing, dude, I think one of the secrets of just being a good comic and a good actor is like you do there's no way like when you're just like, I don't care. Like you have to do the work. So you obviously have to care. You have
default.
You have to break down scripts. You have to like really, really like get in the head of the character. And then like for stand up, it's like you got to write, you got to like hit spots, you got to like learn what your voice is. But whenever you can kind of do the work, but then once it's time to do it, you're like, I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
And you can just kind of get to that place of while you're performing, you don't care.
Whenever you watch any of the Tony Robbins stuff, were any of them entertainers, comedians,
when you watch
actors,
the what?
Like the Tony Robbins stuff that you had watched?
Dude, so Tony Robbins, I think, has the best stage presence maybe of almost any entertainer.
Yeah.
I think that he can hold an audience's attention for like 12 hours. So I think comics should definitely study him. Not emulate, but like...
But did you ever see, like, because I know sometimes you watch the thing and it'll show somebody asking for advice. He's like, well, I'm a CEO of a company or I'm a nurse. Were any of them ever like actors, comics, things
You
like
mean
that?
like motivational people?
No. The people seeking his advice.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, I know that Tony Robbins has worked with a ton of people in Hollywood. So like Anthony Hopkins, like when people get in their head, he's like the dude that they call. Like when Kanye had his meltdown, Kim Kardashian called Tony Robbins.
So he's responsible for that.
Yeah, and like Anthony Hopkins, like he's worked with them. Hugh Jackman has worked with him. Andre Agassi, tennis player, right?
Yeah.
He worked with him. So the people like, and
OJ.
He's worked with what's that?
Did OJ work with him?
OJ worked with him whenever he wanted to, you know what I mean, dispose of the knife and everything.
Right, yeah.
He's just one of those guys.
I wonder if there's any stories like that where like somebody worked with him and they went on like a murder spree. It's like, oh, that wasn't me.
Yeah, he's like just saying, he's like, you got to take massive action. Yeah, and then he just butchered a ton of different people.
Yeah.
Well, he had this thing on Personal Power 2, these subliminal messages, which I listened to all the time back then. I wouldn't listen to him anymore because I have no idea what's being said to me. You know,
subliminal messages. So like, what would he do? He would just like...
It was music that was playing, and it's
and you
subliminal messages. I had no idea what I was listening to.
So when you went to sleep, you would listen to it?
I would listen to it all the time.
It's probably like pay a lot of money to Tony Robbins.
It sounded like 80s like sex scene music. Because it would just be like a saxophone, and it's like just
Kenny
like...
G.
Yeah, like a ramped up Kenny G is what it sounded like. So my earphones are... my mic's still on, right? Oh, okay, yeah, my earphones actually went out. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's fine.
Yeah.
For the aesthetics.
So
in the end, now you don't do the Tony Robbins thing anymore. Do you kind of do it a bit involuntarily? Do you have it a bit like, okay, now it's just a part of my brain function?
I think it's probably a part of my brain, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'm still a fan. I would love to read his books and stuff. I just don't have time.
Right.
You know, I don't have time to read a gigantic Tony Robbins book that is the size of like Atlas Shrugged. It's like huge.
I wonder how much of it, if it's like, that's why it's kind of a conflict of interest when you commodify a thing like this, because he's probably like, well, I need customers. I need people to get addicted to this thing. Like, how much do you think that's a part of his plan, sort of? Is it because if it's to cure you, like, that's it, you're fixed, you know what to do, your brain is going to where you want to go, you kind of don't need him anymore, right?
I think, once again, it goes back to the personality type. Obviously, there's no way we can possibly know what his intentions are, but I do know he comes from a sales background, as most motivational people do, and in sales, the whole thing is to find a need and sell the need. So you have to, if you're selling solar panels, you have to make people associate pain with not having solar panels. No, you need this. So he's a sales guy. So he's obviously selling his product like, you need this. Yeah. And then it's like, part of sales sometimes is making people feel like, oh, I do need this. Yeah. And so sometimes you're really, and the way salespeople look at it is they're like, no, you're like meeting their needs. That's what you're doing. But you're also making them feel insecure if they don't have this thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure that has to have something to do with it, you know?
Yeah. But how is he keeping the people? It's kind of like, okay, but now keep doing this.
I think the guy's probably a good dude. Honestly, I actually think Tony Robbins is a good guy. And I think that probably I don't think his goal is to get the same people like hooked on him, like, you know, crackheads in front of a 7-Eleven. Like, I got your product right here. Yeah. I think it's more so like he is like trying to meet a need in society and just keep drawing people in. Right. And Tony Robbins is he's like the U2 of motivational speakers. So people are gonna buy his stuff.
And they're gonna go anywhere. They're gonna go to him.
They're gonna go. He's like the Joel Osteen of the secular motivation world.
How would you feel if you found out he was a Scientologist the whole time?
I'd still like him. I just be like, I don't have to throw everything out. I can take things.
Right. Yeah, no, of
and
course.
Be like, you know.
Tom
like,
Cruise, amazing.
I regret listening to those subliminal tapes because who knows what's swirling around in my subconscious. But, you know, I think that, I love Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
You know?
So would you still recommend Tony Robbins to people like you did to your ex-girlfriend or whatever? Like, or are you sort of like, you know, do you think it's a thing everybody should do?
No.
No.
But I think it's a thing that can help.
Okay.
I think it's a thing that can help. I think Tony Robbins
I guess that's a better question. Do you think this could hurt anybody in sense that, like, you know, it might not be
if they make a god out of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think like anything else, you know what I mean? Like, it could be, it could make someone doubt their own capabilities apart from Tony Robbins.
I can see that a little bit.
I think what he teaches is he teaches people to just have confidence, which is kind of the opposite. So if that's the case, you should just go to therapy.
Because that's what I'm worried about, is it would become like the Propecia. Once you stop taking it, you're going to go back to...
But the problem is, too, therapists do that because they're like, if you're depressed, you'll always be depressed and you'll always have to be on this drug because it's a chemical imbalance. To whereas he's like, no, you can get better and you can do this. So it's like, I think nothing should be fixed. Like, if something's really helping you, you shouldn't have to do it forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can maybe go back to it for like a tune-up or whatever. So I would say the pros are it can definitely change your life. The cons are you can get addicted to it.
Yeah.
Like anything else. So it's like, I would say it could definitely benefit someone, but I wouldn't say everybody needs to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would be my takeaway. You going to go do Tony Robbins now?
I am kind of interested, but now I feel like I got so much out of you doing Tony Robbins. You know, like I'm like I'll start doing some of that stuff.
Like watching The Rock on screen doing heroic stuff. You're like, I just like to watch him do Tony Robbins.
If I make this thing part of my routine, then I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole, and it'll be like, oh, now it's a thing that I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, dude, it's hard to like. I love routines, and I could end up making a 9-hour morning routine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're just never, because wake up, go to the gym, do a meditation, go to the canyon, do yoga, go to do the isolation tank, do a voice and speech exercise. Dude, like, by then it's like 6 p.m.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I'm broke.
yeah. I was like, but I'm in amazing physical condition.
I'm in amazing physical condion, but I'm not going to have a house.
Yeah.
Or
but I guess that's what you would, I mean, that's what's interesting. They say people that are like, you know, super rich and they have no purpose and they have like, you know, $1 billion trust fund, like they go crazy, but they can literally just live like that, just have the best kind of mental clarity. But like, I feel like to have mental clarity, you kind of need goals. You kind of need.
You got to have purpose.
Yeah.
You know, you got to know why you're doing what you're doing, because it's like the people who win the lottery are like the most miserable.
Really?
I mean, dude, look at the pandemic, like when they were giving 600 away a week.
That was the best.
It was so great when it happened. And then what ended up happening is people got insanely depressed, because it's like paying your bills is part of the problem.
I also kind of felt like they got insanely depressed because we were like kind of like locked inside. Everything was closed. Like,
totally. But that's what I mean. Like money's just is just fixes.
It's just part of it.
It's just part of it. Yeah. But it's not everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that, but you know, I would encourage you to go out and buy all of his books.
Every single one.
Every single one of them. You know, now if you were to buy a book,
once.
Unlimited Power is the one to get.
Okay.
Unlimited Power or
would be
Awaken the Giant Within.
Okay.
Both of those are great.
Okay, that's good branding. And Awaken the Giant, and he's like kind of
Within,
a big guy.
And there's a guy that's like 5'2".
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like all people who can't ride rides at Six Flags that buy that book.
Yeah.
You know, people who have like a height complex.
Yeah. All right, Tony. So those, I already forgot the names of the books. Awaken the Power Within.
Awaken the Giant Within.
Awaken the Giant Within. And
Unlimited Power.
I've combined them into one.
Yeah,
so.
totally.
So those are the two books that people should read, but don't, you know.
They should read, but don't
get addicted to it.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
don't get addicted to them, but they're good.
All right. Tony Robbins, everybody. Let him hear it.
All right, guys. This has been a episode of
Self-Help Survivor. Available where?
Everywhere. Everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, the YouTube.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Typewriter.
Maybe, you know. Typewriter. Is that a podcast?
Microwave? No. That'd be a good platform name, though. Typewriter.
We're going to get this transcribed out.
Yeah. I want to make a whole platform just to use the name Typewriter.
I think you should. That's actually a really good name.
Yeah.
It'd be just like hipsters, you know?
Yeah. I like everything.
Yeah. With pocket watches that go to it.
All right, guys. We are out.